Hello, everyone, and welcome back to a very special episode today. I'm going to have TJ the Wheel Deal, and this is going to be a very casual talk. We're going to talk about our origin stories, stocks that we like, and then there's going to be a part two of this segment where it's only for the channel members and it's for a few reasons. We're going to talk about options. I'm going to disclose my mistakes, my positions, how much money I was down at one point, how much money I'm up at one point. And I don't want to make the channel into fully an option trading channel. And I don't want options are very risky. So I feel that this is extra content that I promised for the members. And TJ was very gracious to agree to this. So part two will be only for channel members and Patreon members. So welcome, TJ, to the channel.
How's it going, my man? Nice to meet you.
Yeah, it's a pretty good day today. I imagine your portfolio must have been feeling quite good today.
It woke up on the right side of the bed, I'll tell you that. It's crazy, though. If you guys are in these meme stocks, see profit and take profit, because
Yeah.
there's nothing worse than writing these stocks all the way up and then writing them all the way down, and then you're just angry at yourself because you could have had all of this money in your account. And you can't make any money unless you actually hit the sell button to realize a win, right? So anyway,
Yeah.
Vince, pleasure to meet you. You're in Sweden, you said, right, before the pod?
Yeah, that's correct.
So tell me a little bit about your backstory, man, because I've watched probably 15 of your videos, my man. I've been stalking you from the site, I think. And I like your attitude in general. And you don't get too crazy when things are going your way, and you don't get too down when things aren't going your way, because it tells me that you're a seasoned investor. So how did you get into investing, though? Do you have what is your background? Because we don't all wake up, pushing the buy button and the sell button for stocks. Like how did you get to the point where you're like, hey, I want to dabble with stocks and now options a little bit?
I've been into stocks on and off, I think, since when I was 18, maybe even 17. I went to a seminar in Hungary that was done by a Hungarian guy, and it was actually about the Australian stock market and how you can buy stocks. And it was all technical, and I found out that guy didn't know anything about what he was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And then life happened to me, and I didn't really make money with the technical trading. And then I came back to the stocks around 2020 when I decided I want to take this up seriously again. And then I started again technical trading, watched a crap ton of YouTube videos, and Jeremy Financial Education was like, yeah, you don't have any billionaires who are technical traders, and all the billionaires are long-term investors. And that was really starting a process in me. And then I actually made quite good money when the market was going. I guess everybody's a genius on a bull market. And then I got my backside handed to me when the 2022-2023 bear market started, and I was like, okay, that's it. I want to just okay. The turning point for me was when I saw that, okay, I beat the S&P 500 by, I don't know, 5 percentage points, but I was all the time at the screen, trying to analyze and trade. And I realized if I would have worked at McDonald's, those 5%, because it becomes a time arbitrage. My portfolio was not endless, right? And then it was okay, I made an extra $5,000 in a year, and how much time did I spend on that? And I'm like, I could have worked at McDonald's and earn more money. And then I was like, okay, my purpose is going to be growing my portfolio and investing it very, very long term, and sharing my research, and that's it. That's a very long story. And I'm a real estate developer and I have some very interesting stories, but if you want to go into it, I can go into it there.
So do you develop single family, multifamily, or commercial? What do you do in real estate?
Multifamily. So I have a startup that I own with three, like it's three owners. So I own 33% of it.
Mhm.
And it's a very, very tough business. And we have been like, it's like this. We had a very rough beginning because, it was very hard. Like Sweden is not an easy country to get capital for any startup, and especially for a real estate startup. And it feels like, it's divided into, you have like the established giants, and then you have like the mom and pops that are trying to invest in real estate, and there's like no in between. So we had like we started with flipping like one apartment, and then we bought a house, renovated it, flipped it, then we started making three apartments in one place. Then we found some investors, then we bought like a hotel building that we renovated, another place where we're building 11 apartments, and then now we're building in one place 24 apartments. That's actually finishing like this week in a Swedish beach town.
Mhm.
And we have another project where we're developing, so it can at one point be 250 apartments, and then that one is not for sure that we would do ourselves. But it's been like the company had a very rough beginning, and then it was going amazing, and then in 2022, I really don't talk about this on the channel, so get an extra on this. So in 2022, we had an investor that was going to come in at a crazy valuation, and I was going to get $1.5 million out myself, while still retaining like quite a big part of the company. And that deal was signed. Okay, so it was like literally the guy just needed to pay, and then the bear market happened. Something effed up for the guy. He had to like cancel the contract, and it was at the same time that all the financing dried up. Like in Sweden is having a much rougher economy than the like in US. You also got the rate hikes, but the economy is doing good. Like in Sweden, like we got the rate hikes and the economy is doing shit. Like it's the
So it's like, are y'all dealing with a recession or not yet?
It's really weird because everything that has to do with loans is super suffering. Like companies are builders, construction companies, car sales, like those sectors are really, really suffering. And then the sectors where you don't need loans, they're doing the way they were doing before. But it's so our section was like super impacted. So I went from this in 2023 to like this guy couldn't come in, and then we were like running out of money. We needed like new investments to keep the company going. Like there was no investors like around, and I almost like the company almost went bankrupt, like within the span of like a few months. And then like now I can say with probably 99% certainty that we like survive this phase, and we are going to be like on the up trajectory again.
Okay. One second. It's my son. Sorry. 1 second.
No problem.
Okay. Sorry about that. They said we ordered his Tesla, but there's like a modification that we need to do for the paperwork. Because
I want my dad to order me a Tesla.
He ordered the performance, and he doesn't need the performance because he's gonna do rideshare with it. And I'm like, dude, the performance is gonna like cut your tires up, so it's gonna really
and the range,
affect your bottom line. And that car is for cash flow. It's not to be hot rodding. So he's 24 though, man. So I still have to guide him, because at 24, Vince, we know everything. At 24, we forget it all by 34. So he's at that age to where he still knows everything. So I have to coach him at times. But
yeah.
he's good. We took the performance off, saved quite a bit of money, dude. Like I think it was like $7,000 or $8,000, dude, for the performance versus just a long wheel or long range rear wheel drive versus like all wheel drive and all this other crazy shit. Tesla is like an iPhone, bro. Everything you add costs money. You know what I mean? It's like an iPhone with wheels.
Yeah, I heard from a lot of Tesla owners that the performance is like fun for the first like 3 days, and then you're going to wish you had the range.
You're getting
I
over
heard
it.
it from.
Yeah, you're gonna get over it.
Yeah.
So anyway, the reason I was asking you about real estate is because that was my first love in investing. It was I saw that people need a place to live.
Yeah.
So it makes sense if you build a house, somebody's going to buy that house and you stand to make money. And I have a lot of friends that have owned houses for 15, 20 years, and they have a lot of equity in this house. So I call it the dumb luck syndrome. Like with just dumb luck, like you didn't know what you were doing. You just bought this house, but you lived there. You paid your mortgage. You look up one day, depending on where you live, you have $250,000, $500,000 of equity in your home.
Yeah.
And that's like in this country, that's kind of like the way the American dream is achieved for a lot of people, because grandma and grandpa owned a house, they pass it down. You know, you own a house and so on and so forth. Before you know, you got this big old piece of real estate that's worth quite a bit of money. And it happens a lot in California, where people own these houses that are dumps, but they're worth $1 million over there. And then they sell these houses for $1 million. They come to Texas, they go buy a mini mansion, if you will, for about 500 grand. And now they got $500,000 in cash and they're living their best life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Real estate's fun, but it's also very capital intensive.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of credit. It takes a lot of connections and know-how. So when I understood stock options and so on and so forth, I was like, this just seems easier because I don't have to find the customer. Like my big thing is like you build a house and then you got to sell it, or an apartment in your case, you got to sell it. But you got to go find the buyer, and it gets very difficult at times.
Yeah, I mean, I think that like every investment has its pros and cons, and I'm still in love with real estate, but it's been a much tougher journey than I thought. But what's insane for us is that like we are able to find, because like we start to get production records, so like we are able to find a project and close investors on it, and then do the whole cycle and then sell the project, and we had like almost no money in the project, and we can take home like millions of dollars when this industry works, right? But the problem is that with the interest rate hikes, it was like someone shut off the light, and then it was like so and like I personally experienced this, that like when we signed this contract with this investor, like my personal net worth was like I don't know, like on paper, right? But it was like multi-million dollars, right? And then like I understood that money is not real until the money is in, but you still like, I mean, it was a signed contract, right? Like it was somehow very real. And then like 8 months later, the same company is almost going bankrupt, and then it was like mentally I lost all that money, and like I was like struggling for making things go right. So that was very tough. But now we're like out of it. I normally don't talk about this on the channel. So
you guys are essentially back on track with your real estate endeavor.
Yeah. And it's all thanks to an investor who was much more deep pocketed than we initially thought, and he has been through a lot of crises himself, and he basically he liked us. He was like, I like that you guys are never give up. Like I fully understand the situation. Like I see that you're handling it, and it's like I will back you guys through this, and it was like, holy moly. So
very cool. Well, let's get into the topic that everybody likes to talk about now. And let's talk about stocks, man. How long have you been investing in stocks? I've been dabbling since I was 19 years old. I'm 49 now, so about
Wow.
30 years.
I don't know why. I always think you're like just in your like late 30s or like just at 40s. So
I've made a lot of good decisions, so it doesn't age you too much when you make good decisions. And I'm married to like the dream woman for me.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I think whenever you have that peace at home, it it takes all the stress away from your life, if that makes sense. Because I found my person. And that's the hardest thing to do, I think, in life, right? It's like we're born and we're like, okay, who are we going to grow old with, right? So it took me a long time, but I finally found her. And I feel like I feel like I look and feel like 10 years younger ever since I met her.
Wow.
Because it's just it's awesome, dude. Now I'm like trying to like always googling shit. What could I do to live to 150? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like whenever you're living your best life, you want to keep it going for a long time, right? But
Have you seen this guy Brian? What's his name? Who's like trying to live forever? Brian.
dude,
What's
I
his
have
name?
heard his
No.
story. There's a guy that's like infatuated with
Yeah,
it, right? Like,
and it's so funny. He spends like I think it's like $3 million a year on his like lifestyle, and
yeah.
then he's like, I made this blueprint that people can like freely access, and he's like, here's my main points: sleep well, eat well, be at your goal weight, and exercise 1 hour a day. And I'm like, you spent $3 million a year on like research, like coming to this conclusion. Okay, like my
Yeah, but
mom
you
told that.
hear about these athletes like LeBron James spends about $1 million a year on his body, based
Whoa.
on his diet, the people that go with him to the games, and like his trainers and all this stuff, this massage therapist. I mean, there's people that, I mean, their body is their business, right? So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
they take it very seriously. And I just started this new like Rocky workout routine about 2 or 3 weeks ago. And dude, I'm doing like crazy shit, dude, like 500 jumping jacks, 500 push-ups, sit-ups, all kinds of like back to the basics, right? And I've lost like 6 pounds since, but I feel just a lot better because I'm moving so much.
Yeah,
And I
that's
do it in the
awesome.
garage, and it's super hot in the garage, and I feel like Rocky, dude, like you're all sweated out, and it's a very detoxifying feeling, like almost like being in the sauna.
Wow, that's
And
awesome.
it's healthy, bro. Like I tell people, here's the thing, man. You can live in the most beautiful house. You can drive the most beautiful cars. But in actuality, the only place that you'll ever live is your body.
Yeah, yeah.
That's where we live, right? It's in our bodies. And this is the only one we got, Vince. So we got to try to. I tell people I can't
Yeah,
look good in the face. I'm going to try to look good in the waist. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So I have one of those faces that's made for radio. So I got to do the best that I can to try to slim down and maybe have maybe not a 6-pack, but a 4-pack.
Awesome, awesome.
And so I'm
So
on my quest. I'm on a quest to lose like maybe 25 pounds, so I could really slim down and just feel better. Just feel better about life. It's easier to move around and just in general, just to be healthier. Because what's the point of making all of this money if you're gonna have a bunch of health problems
yeah,
and
yeah,
you're not
yeah,
gonna
yeah.
be able to enjoy life?
Definitely,
So it kind of puts it in perspective for me.
definitely, definitely.
Because the stock market is very, very sedentary.
Yeah, yeah.
You
You
sit
know,
there, I watch five
yeah,
hours of YouTube a day, you watch CNBC, Fox Business, Vince. Before you know it, 8 or 9 hours have gone by and we haven't done shit. Like
yeah, yeah,
we haven't even stretched, you know what I mean? So
yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah,
it's
I
crazy.
know what you mean, and it's so interesting on this health, like how valuable it is. Just a quick story, and then we go back to your history. That when the October 7 attack happened, like I was very like my company was very very close to, like we were trying to figure out how not to go bankrupt, right? And it was so funny that the October 7 attack happened, and I was like, oh my god, I wake up every day, I'm healthy, I have a loving wife, I have my kids, they're like all healthy and beautiful, and I don't have to worry about somebody like coming to my house and like killing any one of us. I don't have to go and fight for my country.
Right.
And I was like, my problems are, I'm such a lucky guy that I only have to handle my company, not go bankrupt. And I was like, when that thing happened, I was like, I'm so happy I have to deal with these problems and not with those problems, and
Right.
it just like puts things into
Yeah, I
perspective.
mean, if you look at Ukraine, you look at Israel, the whole situation with Palestine and the Gaza Strip. I
Yeah,
find it hard to complain and be justified
yeah.
complaining.
I mean, like, could you imagine that you're like every day you're like, I don't know if I will see my kids or my wife, you know,
Yeah.
uh, like any one of them can go missing, or you know, it's like, my God, you know, then your problems are like, yeah,
It puts it in perspective. It puts it in perspective. But
yeah.
anyway, let's talk about our favorite stocks, man. What are your top 5 stocks, Vince? Who do you I always ask people this whenever they're on YouTube because I like to copy and I
Yeah,
like to
sure, sure,
see. I
sure.
watch YouTube so that I can make money. I want to capitalize off of your brain just like you want to capitalize off of my brain. That's what we're doing here, right?
Yeah,
So,
sure, sure.
so who have you studied, brother? Talk to me because of you and freaking Mad Money, I'm a proud owner of some Rocket Lab shares.
By the way, are you like in the green now, or are you still
Well, I
underwater?
got in at 370 something.
Oh my God! Oh my God! Okay,
Um,
so you're like,
I
that's
had
so
wheeled
good.
I had wheeled it before. I don't like Rocket Lab's option chain though, because the
No, me neither.
liquidity, there's no liquidity there, and you got to do
Yeah,
it with 5-cent increments.
yeah,
But I made a couple $1,000s with Rocket Labs, I don't know, 2 or 3 months ago. But then I went a little bit heavier this time because I just think that there is a opportunity there with this whole space segment. I just don't really understand what exactly it is that they do, but Rocket Labs has sentimental value for me because
yeah,
for those of
yeah,
y'all that don't follow the channel, I sell puts and I sell calls for a living. Essentially, I have a version of the wheel strategy that I put on steroids, and I'm able to make a pretty handsome living off of it. But Space, SPCE was the ticker. I think it's Virgin Galactic is the underlying the company. And
yeah.
that was the very first covered call that I ever sold was on Space. But obviously
That's
that
awesome.
company went to shit, and
Yeah,
it was one of those Shamat plays. Most of these companies, dude, they're struggling, bro. Like all the companies that you took public via the SPAC, I mean, they're all been having a real hard time.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
it's almost like Wall Street has it out for Shamat, and we're kind of bystanders investing in those companies. But Rocket Labs to me was like, okay, cool. People aren't going to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to go parade around space. Maybe this company is actually doing something that's necessary versus taking people on a cool little field trip.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I
yeah,
think that we have a more sustainable business model, if that makes sense, because
yeah, yeah, yeah.
the TAM's bigger, right? The total addressable market is bigger.
Yeah. So, like the way okay, so I only have two top favorite stocks, and that is Palantir and Rocket Lab. And you might think that I'm crazy, but the thing is that I want to, like, I'm a super long-term investor, and I want to build like a very big portfolio. And the way I want to do it is like I study a company, become like an absolute super nerd about that company, you know, like know it inside out. And then I feel like, okay, I want to have investments, you know, where you put the money, you can go to sleep for like 20 years, and then you wake up and you know that in 20 years it will be much more than when you went to sleep, you know.
Right.
And Palantir was the first one that I started with. My average is in the eights with the Palantir, and then it's like I just don't diversify for diversification's sake. So I had money on the stock market, and then I did the research, and I was like, okay, Palantir is that company, so you know, boom, put the money there until I have new money, and then it's like, okay, check, like I have a full position in Palantir, and then the next company was like Rocket Lab. And then it's the same, like now I have like a full position in Rocket Lab, check. So now I'm into the collecting money again, so I can buy more stocks, but I don't have like a third one where the conviction is so big. Like I'm looking at Shopify, Airbnb, you know, there's some other companies, but it's like the conviction level is like, it's like Palantir and Rocket Lab is like 100%, and those others are like maybe 60, you know.
So the conviction, a lot of the conviction has to do with how the company and the stock performs, and it's also a direct correlation of how much research you put into the company.
Yeah. And
so it has a conviction to me is very similar to comfort level.
Yeah, exactly.
If you know what's going on with the company and the stock goes down, that's an opportunity.
Exactly.
If you don't know what's going on with the company and the stock goes down, holy shit, I might panic sell, and that's how you lose a lot of money, buying high and selling low, right? So
exactly.
It has to, conviction is correlated to comfort because of the amount of research that was done or not done. I say it's like this, Vince. Whenever we were in school, we had to prepare for a test that was coming. When you studied, when you did all of your homework, you were eager to take that test. Your conviction was high, and you haven't even seen any of the answers. You haven't seen any of the questions for the exam. Yeah. You know that there's nothing that teacher is going to be able to put on that exam that you're not prepared for.
Yeah.
But when you didn't study, you're like, oh shit, man, I just hope I can get by with like a C so that I don't have to do this over again. So your conviction's very low because you didn't do any homework. So to me, it's just the equivalent of, did you do the homework or not? Because if you didn't do the homework, how do you expect your conviction to be high?
Yeah, exactly. Look at this comment.
You're just doing the GameStop thing. The guy, he bet on black and he won, right?
Yeah, exactly.
but you don't have to do no homework on GameStop. You're just saying, hey, I'm willing to get lucky, and this is how much I'm willing to lose to try to do it, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. But I just admit what it is. Like, dude, I gamble a little bit too, but I recognize that it's a gamble versus, like, I've been manufacturing the win on SoFi for a couple of years now. And, you know, I'm manufacturing the win on Tesla for going on about 3.5 years now. But I've learned a lot about those companies along the way. So the conviction is very high. And as long as the thesis doesn't crack, I could keep going. But once the investment thesis cracks, then I need to be able to take a step back, regroup, be honest with myself and say, hey, you got it wrong. Because I've got it wrong before and it sucks. Because it costs you a lot of money.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I like Palantir, dude. I love Palantir. I'm underweight Palantir, dude. I've been trying to get right with Palantir, but there's a lot of people that have been saying Palantir is overvalued, myself included, for probably the better part of since it DPO'd, right? I mean, because it went up to like $38 or whatever. And I bought it the very first day it was available for purchase. I bought it and I wrote it up.
So you're a Palantir OG, my God.
So I went up there and I sold it in the high 20s because my buddy Alan Shen was like, hey, this valuation makes no sense. This company is going to dilute the shit out of the shareholders. They've got a lot of stock-based compensation. He understood stocks at a different level than I did at the time. This is like 2020, 2021 when Palantir DPO'd, right? So I was like, well, I already made money. He was like, lock in the win. I promise you at some point valuations matter. This thing's going to come back down. You'll have an opportunity to rebuild your position. So in blind faith, I followed him. In blind faith, I followed him, and then it went up to like $35 or something there, and I was angry, right? Because I was like, oh, I left all this money on the table. I've already seen a couple of interviews with this guy, Alex Karp. He's really quirky. He's like, hey, if y'all want crazy returns, this isn't the company for you. We don't care about profit. We're making the best software in the world. Eventually, it's all going to work out, but you got to rock with this for a while. That's essentially the tone of Alex Karp's message for the first year or so with Palantir, and I liked it. I was willing to ride the roller coaster with the man because I thought that they were on a mission. They'd already been in business for some 15 years or so. And he says that they can make a profit anytime they want to. They're just choosing to reinvest over and over to make sure that they have the best software and the best product because that's their moat, right? They have a sticky business model. That's one of their moats. So I got behind the concept and I bought in with Palantir very early. But then I got away when the valuation made no sense. And then I was able to start building my position again. I started in when it was coming back down, I started in the 1750 range. And then I loaded up at 1250. And then I went ham in the $7 range. And it's kind of really worked out now. In the bigger portfolio, we're sitting at about $14.50 a share. So it's not like the greatest entry point, but it's not bad.
No, it's
and then in my wife's account that I no longer have because I liquidated her account because because I'm writing the book on how I doubled my wife's account live on YouTube. Shameless plug on the book. It'll be available in about 90 days. But dude, her entry point was like 757 on like 3,000 shares of Palantir.
That's very nice.
It was painful when I had to sell everything because I had to realize the win, right, for the book. Because if I don't sell everything and double the money, well, then I can't write the book. So it's one of those things that I'm pissed off that I had to sell some of those positions. But in order for the story to hold true, I had to liquidate the entire account, and here we are. But yeah, dude, I love Palantir. I don't know enough about Rocket Labs yet. I've seen about 5 or 6 of y'all's the little podcast, and you had a guy named Peter Beck talking about it the other day.
Yeah, I mean, that was super surprising that we got him on. And yeah, I mean, look, their thing is very simple. Basically, at the current price, you're buying like an undervalued launch company, but it's only 33% of their business. So they have 66% of their business is manufacturing satellites and building stuff that will go on the rockets to space, right? That's almost for free, basically, at the current price. And then their long-term plan is they want to have like a Starlink, like they want to make their own satellites, put it on their own rockets, and have a constellation that will sell some service. And that is like a pure, I mean, like on SpaceX, they were like a $30 billion company when Starlink came around. And then Starlink was announced, and like it started working, and then the valuation went to like 130 billion, like 4x just on this news. So the thing with Rocket Lab is that they're very early. So I'm not sure if even they themselves know what this constellation is going to be. They just have all the right ingredients, like they will have a rocket that they manufacture themselves. They already are manufacturing the satellites themselves. And that's like the long-term bull case for me. And the valuation is just super. I mean, you have rocket companies on the private market that only launch rockets, and they have not had anything go to space, and they are more valued than Rocket Lab. Like, it's insane. And this company has done like soon 50 launches with their own rocket, and their stuff just works. Like, it's a very, very good company.
Wow. So you sold Tesla.
Yeah.
Rocket Labs, right, Vince?
Yeah.
So I saw that episode of yours. So I'm not lying to you. I've been following you for a hot minute.
Yeah, that's
so
pretty.
Vince, how in the hell do you go to sleep one night and wake up and say, I'm selling fucking Tesla? It'll probably be the largest in the history of the world for a fucking rocket company, bro. How do we go from Tesla to Rocket Labs, and you're sleeping well at night? I can see the gleam in your eye. This shit's going to work out for you. Like, how did you get to that conclusion? That's a story worth telling, and I want to hear it.
Sure. I mean, look, again, like you come to this super long time.
I knew that information about you, Vince. I caught you off guard right now.
Yeah. You did. So again, like the super long-term investing, right? So I had a thesis on Tesla that they were going to have 20 million cars on the road. And my thesis was that I'm buying a car company, and then all the FSD, all the robotaxi, and everything is just like a call option on the company, right? Mm-hmm. And then they had this earnings call when like I listened to the earnings call, and Elon Musk was talking about that, the car is going to, like, the car production is going to slow down. They're not going to do this factory, and they're having a very hard time, with the rates. And then I realized
2 earnings calls ago when Elon Musk it looked like his girl had broken up with him, and he got on the conference call, right?
Yeah.
He was like, the sky is falling type thing.
Yeah, and I realized that, okay, like, I like the company very much, but they're not gonna get to the 20 million cars. Like, I even don't know if like they're going to be able to make more than 3 or 4 million, and they're delaying the factory. And then the reason why I would hold the stock is because they might develop FSD, but FSD has been coming this year for, I'm like, it could be. And then I was like, okay, my thesis is broken. I like the company, I like Elon Musk, but it's like I was wrong about why I invested, you know. And at that point, I was like, I need to sell because I need to rethink and see what it is. And at that time, I was like done with the research on Rocket Lab, and I was like, I want to have a position in that. So it wasn't like I sold Tesla for Rocket Lab. It was like two things that happened at the same time. But yeah, it was my thesis was wrong, you know. And Tesla is also something that I'm still very much looking at, and I think that the thesis is changing because I feel that FSD is very, very close. You know, a lot of companies have given up on like when I sold, it was like they were getting competition, but now like all the competition is like canceling their car factories and you know, pulling like back down on producing EVs. And you know, on the car industry, it's like, it's not like iPhones that you just, oh, we have a surge in iPhone demands, which I just order more from Foxconn, you know. It's like you have to have years of pre-work to have the factories up and running. And you know, when this shit turns and people want EVs again, and those other companies are not ready with their factories, it's all gonna go to Tesla, you know.
Right.
And
so let me give you the investment thesis according to my mentor at BlackRock, because I pay money for this this guy at BlackRock mentors me to manage the amount of money that I do, because this is new to me, right?
yeah.
And it's two sentences for Tesla. And this is the reason that I've been continuing to try to build the position in Tesla. It's they have first mover advantage and they will be the last man standing.
Yeah.
Just look at the story, the way that it's playing out. They have first mover advantage, and they're going to be the last man standing because all of these other regular car companies are realizing that it's too fucking expensive to do what Tesla has already done, and they're doing it better than we are, and they already make a profit doing it. We're losing money trying to compete with Tesla. We might as well just try to keep getting better at what we do and stay in our lane, because we just can't beat Tesla. There's only one Tesla. They're the first mover advantage, and they're going to be the last man standing in that space. And it's beautiful, and they're going to license that technology. They're going to license that technology on the FSD. And this is just on the car side of things. So the way that I look at Tesla is it's a car company with about a $20 billion a year side hustle. Because if you look at all of the money that they bring in that has nothing to do with selling cars per se, I mean, that shit's more than some of the other companies that I'm invested in. Like we don't even really talk about Tesla and solar. And I'm heavily invested in Enphase. Dude, Tesla solar is bigger than Enphase. You know what I'm saying? That's all that Enphase does. And then for Tesla, it's just like the fucking side hustle. It's like having a full-time job like my son and driving Uber on the weekend.
Yeah, my God. I mean, just so you know, like I'm a true believer that, like, if you fall asleep for 20 years and you bought Tesla today, like 100% you're going to make money. Like it's right. Like not even a question in my mind. The only question for me is, you know, like on Rocket Lab, I honestly think I put one in it, and in 30 years it might be 100, right? And on Tesla, it might be that you put like, because that's what I saw, that the valuation of the company when my thesis was broken, it was like, it was not, you know, like it's maybe like I get a 10% return after 10 years. And I was like, this is not worth the risk for me. But so much has changed since I sold that it's again becoming like, you know, like you put one into it, and now the question is like, is it going to be 10 or 30, you know, which is very, very nice.
No, and I get it, because you have investments that you're looking for a double. And I think it's real important for the audience to understand what Vince said. Vince said a lot right there. So let me try to add a little color to what you said, Vince. Is you go into an investment and you have an expectation of your ROI, your return on your investment.
Yeah.
And you know Tesla is going to be a 1x, maybe a 2x, maybe a 5x. But you also know that because it's also so big already, it's probably not going to be 100x. Whereas Rocket Labs has the potential to be 100x, and that might be life-changing money for your situation. Yeah. Versus Tesla is probably the stable way to go.
Exactly.
But it's also going to be a limit on your upside, because Tesla, we already caught Tesla at 750 billion valuation, right? So
Yeah.
it's a little bit tougher. It's a little tougher to get there, right? I get it, man. I get the risk reward if you're willing to, because, and the funny thing is they both have volatility anyway.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Exactly.
it's like, it's not like you're gonna get slow and steady with Tesla. I mean, Tesla trades like a fucking penny stock. So
Yeah.
it's crazy.
Fucking nuts. Yeah.
It's crazy. Well,
Cool.
very cool. Let's talk a little bit about my neck of the woods. How did you get involved in selling options, and what brokerage do you use that you're able to do that in Sweden? Because I'm not familiar with the worldwide stock market, if you will. I'm only familiar with the United States.
Yeah, I'm actually using Interactive Brokers. That they have an insanely good setup on. It's just very hard to open an account with them. Like, it's a lot of steps and yeah, but and you can trade anywhere in the world with like, I think we have it's the same. And the way I got into option trading is like, this portfolio is together with my dad, and like, he's going to retire very soon, right? And he was like, I believe in Palantir. Like, we were literally talking about this, and he's like, but when I retire, like, the only way that his part of the money can be used is like, we need to sell. And he's like, then you have this like golden goose, and then like you don't want to sell, and then it becomes this like, what do we do? And then Matt Money, who's the co-host on my channel, he, like, we were talking about selling options, and then I was looking more into it, but it was still like, I don't know, not something very interesting. And then Matt like said something about, that you can buy like a put option, and then the security for the put option is like the margin on your account, but you're like not using the margin on your account. And then it like something, like a light bulb went off. And then I was like, okay, research. I really need to go into this. And then I really went down the rabbit hole.
Yeah. The only thing that I hate about selling puts and calls is, if I'd have been doing this for the last 25 years or so, I wouldn't be here talking to you right now, Vince. I'd be so done financially 10 times over. But I think that God brings things to you when you're ready.
Yeah.
I don't think that I was ready then. My mind wasn't ready. It's just like I went to school last night or went to bed last night. And my prayer is like, when I pray or whatever, it's like I'm talking to my God in my mind, right? And I'm always like, man, I wish I would have met my wife sooner, because we would have 15, 20 years together. But then on the flip side of the coin, it's like, well, she wouldn't have been ready for me, and I wouldn't have been ready for her. So then that would have sucked even more. Like, to me, waiting a long time to meet someone is much better than meeting someone at the wrong time, right? And I think that options was introduced to me at the right time for me. Like, I was ready, dude. Like, COVID happened. Yeah, I'd had a family tragedy that I was dealing with. And it was just, and I had enough money to be able to do it as well, because it's a capital intensive business, as you well know, a lot like real estate.
Yeah.
And it's a business, make no mistake about it. Selling puts and calls is a business. It's not a hobby. It's not gambling or anything of the sort. But it came to me at the right time. Like, I was ready. The brain was mature. The capital was available. And I was also ready to learn. I was eager to learn. And sometimes in your life, you're not like really receptive to someone teaching you, especially some strangers on YouTube, right? Because I was learning by watching videos on YouTube and stuff. And then I'm like, okay, this is getting crazy though, because a lot of these people, I can tell they don't really have the results that I'm looking for. So I had to look past the messenger and only focus on the message.
The
message makes sense. Can I legit pick a company that I want to own? Can I get paid for bidding it over here at the bottom? and get paid some money for doing that. So I'm essentially getting paid for agreeing to buy the shares of a stock that I want to own anyway at a discount. I have to deal with 100 share increments. That's the big caveat. So that message came across crystal clear to me, and I was able to decipher or disregard who was delivering the message. And no one would show their accounts. There was no transparency. There wasn't any of the sort, dude. So that's how I got on YouTube. I was like, dude, I'm going to create a channel to fill in all the gaps that were missing for me when I wanted to learn about the wheel strategy. Can you do this right here? There's one that can I give a quick explanation of how you wheel? I give you like a 1 minute on that real quick. So this is the wheel deals. Do you mind, Vince, or do you want me to say this?
No. Go ahead. And your channel is in the description below. And so if you guys are interested in selling options, TJ is a fantastic source of information. So you can check out his channel there.
So essentially, I have steps that I use for my wheel deal strategy, if you will. First thing you need to do is you need to decide what stock you want to own. And you need to hone in on that stock. You need to get like Vince with Rocket Lab, and you need to go do some research. And you need to land on a stock. First and foremost, you got to land on the stock. That in and of itself is very hard for a lot of people to do. And a lot of people can't do that. They never get to that point, Vince. So what I tell them, go land on an ETF. Now you got a basket of stocks, baby. So if you cannot land on an individual stock, go land on an ETF. It could be the Qs. It could be the SPYs. It could be the TQQQs. You want to get all crazy. I mean, there's a lot of ETFs out there that you can land on if you don't have the ability or the risk tolerance to land on an individual stock. And then after that, the real homework begins. You need to decide what is the fair price that you are willing to pay for 100 shares of that stock. Because you need to make a bet with the market saying that if this stock is trading at this price by this date, I'm willing to own 100 shares of this stock, and that's called the cash secured put. So you're going to enter into an agreement to sell a cash secured put. They're going to give you a premium up front, yours to keep regardless of what happens. And on expiration date, let's say it's 5/31 at the end of this month, and you have a cash secured put on Rocket Labs at $4. If Rocket Labs is above $4, they're going to release your collateral because that's out of the money. If it's below $4, that's in the money. So now you're going to be the proud owner of 100 shares of Rocket Lab. The gimme and the gotcha is you got the premium up front. The gotcha is Rocket Labs is at $3. Don't go crying to your mom. You know what you signed up for. You agree to buy them at $4, even though that on the open market now you can buy them at $3. So that's a cash secured put in a nutshell. You can roll out of these options. That's a conversation for another day. But once you own these shares, now you're like, okay, shit, I got paid to buy these shares. Now I'm going to get paid to sell these shares. So you're going to enter into what's called a covered call. So let's just say Rocket Labs, for this example, I bought them at $4. I was assigned at $4. I'm in this business to make a profit. I'm going to agree to sell these shares in a couple of months for $5, and they're going to give you yet more money via covered call premium. So you've already gotten paid two ways now. You got paid via cash secured put premium. You got paid covered call premium. And then the difference from what you paid for the shares versus what you sold the shares for, that's your capital appreciation. And that's the third way that you get paid in the wheel strategy. The fourth way you could potentially get paid is by collecting a dividend if you're dealing with a dividend paying stock. So that is why the wheel strategy is very attractive to a lot of people, myself included, is because I'm going to get paid to buy the shares of a stock that I want to own anyway at a discount. I'm going to get paid for agreeing to sell those shares for a profit. And then I'm going to make the difference from what I paid for the shares versus what I sold the shares for. And if at any time these contracts kind of go against me, I can reposition myself by rolling the contract to make sure that the terms of engagement always remain favorable for me as the options seller. So it's just very simple, not easy, but it's simple to manufacture the win if you stick to the plan. So to me, the wheel strategy takes a lot of the emotion out of investing for me.
Yeah.
I have the lucrative business that I have today.
Yeah, I have a very interesting question because like when I started with like selling options, I was like, how come not everybody is doing this, right? And because like when you understand that you can roll options, you're like, it's very hard to lose on a position, because even if you're losing, you can like roll the option and then you're suddenly not losing. And I came to the conclusion that if you had your cash, and let's say you're talking about Rocket Lab. So let's say Rocket Lab goes to 100. If you bought the stock, you have, like, you started with 1 million and now you have 100 million, like just easy numbers. But if you are doing this rolling, like, you will basically limit your gain, because you're like, with the calls, like, you have to sell and you like leave money on the table, right?
Potentially. Yeah.
And again, the gimmies and the gotchas, that I feel like with the option trading, you get a very stable like amount of percent return on your money. So even on bull markets, so like if you have the stock, Rocket Lab, just as it did, it can go from 6 to 3, and then you're basically making zero money, and then it goes back to, so you had like 1 year where you had zero money, and then let's say it goes from 6 to 8, so the next year you had, sorry, let's say from 6 to 12, so the next year you had 100%, and then the year after it goes from 12 to 12, you made zero. But with option trading, it's like 30%, like it's a very stable, and that's, I think, the gimmies and the gotchas in it, that you trade the potential upside to stable monthly income.
Correct. So
I might be wrong on this. I wanted to ask you this.
That is a real good view, and it's pretty accurate for the most part. So I look at selling options as real estate investing. I'm going to commit to buying a house. 100 shares of stock is my little virtual house, if you will, because we're dealing with 100 share increments with options, right? One option controls 100 shares of stock, or represents 100 shares of stock, if you will. So the way that I look at it is, let's just say it's Tesla, Rocket Lab, SoFi, whatever, it doesn't matter. The underlying, that's the house and that's the neighborhood. That's the house and that's the neighborhood that you landed on. The way that I look at it is this very, very simple, guys. It's like real estate in my mind. Vince, you're a real estate professional. Whenever somebody enters into a real estate agreement to like buy a home or a business property or a multifamily or whatever, they usually have a very long-term outlook when they do that, correct?
Yeah.
So whenever you own a hotel or an apartment or whatever the case may be, let's say 100 doors, because that would be the equivalent of 100 shares of stock. The only thing that you focus on when you're in real estate is the cash flow that's coming in.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because that keeps the lights on, correct?
Yeah, exactly.
And I have been part of a few real estate investments, so I know that that's kind of what we look at. We look at, this is my mortgage, this is the loan, this is the cash flow, am I cash flowing positive or negative? And that's your only focus. So you have a long-term perspective. You bought this house or this apartment or whatever the case may be, you bought it in 2022 and you have an exit plan of 2040 or something like that. It's very out in the distance. And you know that you're probably going to double, in some cases, maybe even triple the big nut, which is the actual investment of the entire property. But along the way, you're going to make a lot of cash flow, correct?
Yeah, exactly.
So during that 15 or 20 years, you're only focused on cash flow, you're focused on occupancy rates, and you're focused on maintenance. That's all you're looking at.
Yeah.
You know what you're not doing when you're in real estate? Do y'all have Zillow over there? Do y'all have Realtor.com? What do y'all use over there to determine the value of your real estate on a daily basis?
It's called Hamnet. It's I think it's very similar to Zillow.
So let's just say you have Zillow.
Yeah.
You're not going on Zillow every day typing in, what's my house worth?
Yeah. And just to clarify for the viewers, so a very good example that happened to me is I wrote put options on Rocket Lab, at $5 strike price, and then they announced this capped call transaction. The stock fell 20% pretty much 3 days after I wrote the put option, and then I got assigned those Rocket Lab shares. And what specifically you're talking about is that my shares went down all the way to 360, but because I wasn't thinking about every day, like, what is my shares worth, I was thinking about how can I sell call options on this baby to bring in cash flow. And then now the stock, it's a few months later, and it's basically back at the same exact price that I was assigned that. So I, like, on paper, I lost money, but the plan was never to own, like, to you know, like, trade in and out of the stock. The plan was to have the cash flow with the options.
Exactly. So what I always ask myself is, am I legit trying to be in this stock for 3 to 5 years? Kind of like a piece of real estate.
Yeah.
So the only thing that I'm focused on is how much cash can I generate via cash secured puts and cover calls off this particular ticker. And then I just need to stay in it long enough so that I can realize the big money. Whereas if I just buy, the 20,000 shares of Rocket Labs, and I'm going to wait 3 to 5 years, I'm never going to sell calls against those shares. I never collected rent along the way. I wouldn't be able to afford to do that in real estate. So why in the hell would I do that in the stock market? Especially in the stock market where you have to pay cash for the real estate.
Yeah, exactly.
At least over here, you can finance it and you're only putting in 10, 20% of your money. The rest of it's the bank's money.
Yeah.
So they're helping you carry the burden. Over here, they don't help you carry the burden. So I'm paying cash for a property. I need to bring money through the door, brother. I cannot afford to own a non-dividend paying stock that's not bringing cash flow through the door.
Yeah. It's very good. Very good.
God bless all of you that can. I'm not in that financial situation because this is my only source of income.
Yeah.
If I still worked in the oil field and I was making my $80,000 to $120,000 a year and I was just living comfortable doing that, then maybe I would be able to afford to do that. But I'm just not in that situation. So I need to generate income. So I try to just focus on how much money am I bringing in via cash secured puts and cover calls. Is it about 25, 30% a year based on the underlying, based on how much money I have tied up in that particular investment? And then I'm just trying to hold on for 3 to 5 years. I bought SoFi at 7 and I want to sell the shit for 14 or 15. Because if you go and buy a house in the United States for 300,000 and 3 to 5 years later, you're able to sell it for 600,000, you're doing pretty fucking good, Vince.
Yeah.
And I guess people shit on you all the time in the stock market if you have to wait 3 to 5 years to double your money. I'm like, you're not going to go do that in real estate.
Yeah.
You're not. And then you're going to deal with all of these headaches here. There's a bunch of crackheads trying to buy my option. So it's easy. Like, there's a lot of liquidity.
Yeah,
it's easy for you to find that customer. And it's a no-brainer business for me, brother.
There's a lot of liquidity on everything except for Rocket Lab.
Yeah, there's another one that I got into recently that didn't have a lot of liquidity called HIMS.
Oh, yeah.
They sell the boner pills and all this other stuff. They're kind of like what's that Kathy Wood stock that's in the same space? You guys can help me out. It's a telehealth.
Teladoc. Yeah, Teladoc.
I think they're kind of like a version of Teladoc that's a little more hip, and they know how to make money. Like HIMS is making money already, dude. Because I've been a fan of Teladoc for a while, but they don't know how to make money. Like the company doesn't know how to make money. HIMS just figured out how to make money. I'm a fan of companies that know how to generate a profit. Yeah. So, but they don't have a lot of liquidity in their options either. And liquidity is a very important feature for us if you want to be able to maneuver in and out of these positions pretty quick.
Yeah. Cool. I think I ask you one last question before we go in on the members only part. But so the money that you're that you have custody of, as I understood from your stream, like it's some customers' money and some is your own money, or
yeah, but I don't show theirs I can't show theirs on the stream. Like I can't show like
okay. So you're only
I don't think it's illegal. I just need to get their permission.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically, So it's like undisclosed, because I thought that the portfolio that you show, so that's basically only your own money.
Correct.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I
Yeah,
thought
but there is
that
going
was
to
like,
be my wife's account's coming back in a different form. And I'm going to be showing that one. I'm going to be doing an episode on how I'm going to try to grow their portfolio to maybe $3 to $5 million as well. So kind of like another story that people can latch onto and follow. There's going to be slightly different stocks, and there's going to be a lot of buying options and selling calls again. So I'm going to do like a lot of the poor man covered call campaign because it's more capital efficient. So I'm going to show different wrinkles on that account as well.
Okay. And do you take on
that one, just like my wife's account, that will not be my money. There's not $1 of my money in there, just all of my talent. And my wife obviously knows that I'm doing, she obviously wants me to win because, I'm a direct benefit of that as well as her husband.
Yeah. So do you need more clients, or do you take on more clients, or you just
man. I'm trying not to, but it's so easy for me too, because when you get a little bit of success, it's easier to get more success, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Look, I have.
But when you're at the bottom, nobody wants to. I say it like this because you're married, right, Vince?
Yeah.
When you're single, a girl won't look at you. But when you're married, it's like, dude, the girls don't give a shit. Like, they'll look at you. It's the weirdest thing, right? And so because they see success, they're like, oh, he's with the real pretty girl. She must know something, right? And that's the way life is. It's like success begets success.
Yeah.
And but right now, I do every day. I fall more in love with my wife, so I want to work less, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally.
So I'm like, well, I take on more clients. Can we talk about it? Like, hey, let's go get some clients. It'd be probably potentially like a pay raise, but it's also a headache because now you got to deal with them on the phone and this and that and the other thing, and then it's less time doing what we want to do. Because I think in the next 3 to 5 years, God willing, my wife and I are going to be in a situation where we can do like a lot more traveling and things like that, and we don't want to be beholden to anybody. Dude, clients, bro, they own you, Vince. They own your time, dude. And it's I don't know that I want to put myself in that predicament, but we'll see, man. We'll see what happens down the road. There might be a fast forward life 3 to 5 years. There might be some sort of a YouTube subscriber hedge fund that I'm running on the channel or some crazy shit. I would just have to get the proper licenses for that, right? So it's a lot more complicated than it sounds.
And last question, I promise. Is it? You don't have to answer if you don't want to, but okay. Like on the clients, because it feels like they give the money and you do all the work. So do you guys go like 50-50, or do you go like Kathy Wood and you take like a 0.8% handling fee on the money? Or
when I started my very first hedge fund, which I did the last trades on the first hedge fund that I created. I did the last trades on it January of this year. And we're literally just waiting for the options to expire. And I'm done with that one. So I got 5 people. They gave me $1 million each.
Yeah.
And when it's all said and done, that $5 million, I turned it into just under $16 million.
Whoa.
And I wish I was getting 50-50, but that's not how I did it. I had it to where I would get 10% of the proceeds. Okay. But now there's these things called waterfall strategies where you can enter into an agreement and you're like, hey, whenever we hit these metrics, this is how much I'm going to make. And when we hit a certain amount of metrics, we're 50-50. And that's the dream, but it's going to be very, very difficult for a client to ever agree to that. So I think that the max that I think that I would ever be able to get on something like that would probably be around the 20% range of the profits. But I don't have management fees. I don't have a license. So a hedge fund manager doesn't need licenses. You just need a bunch of paperwork, right?
Yeah.
So I don't have like these licenses where I can like, you're paying me like a consultant fee and all this other bullshit. You need to get like these Series 65 licenses in order to be able to charge these stupid fees that are very unjustifiable in my mind. So the way that I operate, Vince, in a nutshell, is if I can't make them money, I don't deserve to get paid.
Yeah.
So it's real hard for me to want to take on clients because it could take, depending on what market we enter into, what stocks I choose, it could take 2 or 3 years before this portfolio is in the black. And in the way that it is with me, for whatever reasons, it's like I'm always coming from behind, dude. The portfolio looks really shitty for 6 or 8 months, and then all of a sudden, boom, I'm up 100%. You know what I mean? So it's just like there's no money coming in, so I'm not really incentivized to take on clients because at the end of the day, until I press the sell button and it's all said and done, I wouldn't be qualified for a commission. And I don't want to work for free like that, especially because I'm not in a position where I have to. At first, I was trying to like grow my name and stuff, so I would do it. But now, hell no, bro. Like, there's just no way. I've been tempted, I don't know if you know this story about me, but I used to do coaching and I used to charge people $500 and they used to have access to me for an entire year. All thanks Will Strategy. And
only for $500
for a whole year. Again, I didn't have a lot of money, so I was trying to build my bankroll. So I just did math in my head. And I was like, well, I can get 500 people, give me $500. I'm off and running.
Yeah.
So it was like 417 clients, I think. I have it in my journal, dude. I don't know the exact number, but let's just call it 400 people gave me $500. So do the math on that. And
what is that, 250 or?
It was like 200.
Yeah.
And that was a big head start for me in life because that happened around the coronavirus time.
Yeah.
So I was over 300% in 2020.
Wow.
So that was real big for me on a personal level. So coaching is a nice hack, but I felt like I was dealing a lot with like imposter syndrome. Are you familiar with imposter syndrome or no?
Definitely.
Okay. So
I think
didn't know what I was doing, and I can't believe people were giving me $500 because I was just watching YouTube videos. I had read a couple of books, but coaching is so easy to sell.
Yeah.
Because people feel like they need to pay money to get value because that's how the educational system has been shoved down our throats since a very young age. But then I was having dinner with my buddy Chris, my best friend before I met my wife. And I was like, dude, I don't want to be known as that guy. I don't want to be known as the guy that made all his money talking about doing something. I want to be the guy that made money doing the thing that he's talking about.
Yeah.
So I made that shift, and that's when I started the YouTube channel. And I wanted to have all the information there. That way all my clients, because they're no longer going to have access to me, a handful of them still, we became buddies, right? So they talk to me all the time. One of them's always commenting. His name's Hector Guerra. He's always on my little deal. And I was like, I'm not going to charge anybody money, dude. I'm just going to give all of this information for free. But really, I was doing it for the people that had given me the $500. And now I feel like I've definitely given them their money's worth, if that makes sense. But then also, I know for a fact that probably less than 20 of those people actually do this on a regular basis, sell puts and calls. So the other people just blew up money like on a gym membership, so to speak.
Yeah.
And I just didn't want to do that, dude. I was like, because I could do it, dude. I could sell, bro. I've been selling my whole life. You know what I mean? I was like, I could sell you a fucking course. I could do some stupid bullshit, make it look all pretty, package it up and sell it to you for 100, 200, 300, $20 a month, 30 bucks. I could do all that and make millions of dollars that way, like another Invest with Henry, if you will. But I just didn't want to be known as that on YouTube. I'm like, why don't I just grow an account and live off of that and call it a day?
Yeah.
And then be the guy that helps people out and doesn't charge any money, and see if I can do that for a long time. Now, if I ever get in a situation where it's just not worth my time to be on YouTube unless I have to charge, because that's what people do, right? That's why they charge money for all this stuff, because they're trying to get paid for their time, because we invest a lot of time on our channels. But luckily, I'm not in that situation, so I want to just keep going the way that I'm going.
Yeah, YouTube is a very weird investment strategy, because it's like I make like 10 trillion times more money on the stocks that I cover being right, but then I feel that, like I wouldn't have discovered Palantir if it wasn't for YouTube, like same with Rocket Lab, same with option trading, like it was because I was doing Rocket Lab Weekly with Matt and he talked about it, so it's like the returns come in like non-financial ways.
Yeah. Well, dude, it's been an absolute pleasure, my man. I got to get rocking and rolling. Do you want to do the thing for your members real quickly?
Yeah, we do that. Okay, so we continue for the members only. Thank you guys for watching, and thank you TJ, and his channel is in the description box below.
Appreciate you guys.